Wallace of the Australian Christian Lobby tweeted this message: "Just hope that as we remember servicemen and women today, we remember the Australia they fought for wasn't gay marriage and Islamic." After a barrage of criticism, the comment was removed and there was an apology. "This was the wrong context to raise these issues. ANZACs mean too much to me to demean this day." Well, the man himself joins us now to explain himself. Jim Wallace, good morning to you. Let's look at the depth of this outrage. Here's one response. What Diggers fought for was freedom from prejudice and persecution. And this one, Jim should be ashamed using ANZAC Day to push a homophobic and racist agenda. What do you say to that?
Well, Natalie, I think, first of all, to be maligned by Twitter activists is not the end of the world. And I think if you look at the blog sites on the articles that have covered this, even though those articles have said I wrongly said that I slurred gays and Islamics, I mean, it's not the case. Nonetheless, the people who blogged on there have been very supportive, some running to 60% in support. The reality is this Twitter activist group are the same people who reduced Stephanie Rice from a national hero to a blubbering wreck in just a few days because of the inadvertent use of a word. And this is what has happened here. I was sitting with my father on ANZAC Day, who is a veteran of Tobruk and Milne Bay, frontline soldier in both those campaigns, and he said, well, I find it very difficult to relate to the Australia that I fought for. Now, he wasn't referring there to the fact that we now have planes instead of steam trains. He was referring there to the values. And in mentioning gay marriage and the Islamic issue, I'm there talking about two issues which are extant. Gay marriage pushed up there by the Greens this year, which will change a foundational relationship, the foundational relationship in our culture and therefore the nature of the country. We've seen in Europe that 4 national leaders now have come out and said that because of the extremists in Islam, and it's only the extremists, it is not the normal Islamic people or Muslims, the extremists who believe that Islam should sit above the state, that European countries are having a lot of trouble wrestling with this, and if it's not wrestled with, then we are going to find the nature of Australia that our veterans fought for is going to change more and more. Jim, and they'll be able to recognise it less and less.
Look, I think there are 2 issues here. One is what you said, the content of what you said. The other is you said it on ANZAC Day. Yes, there was criticism on the Twitter sphere, but there was also a lot of criticism with people just reading the newspaper and looking at the TV last night. So it's not ANZAC Day today. Yeah. Do you stand by what you tweeted yesterday?
Look, I do stand by what I tweeted. If people read it in the right context and realise that I'm not slurring gays, I have a lot of friends and associates of gays. In fact, one actually tweeted me last night and said, "See, you had a tough time. I'll let you know I'm thinking of you. Keep up the hard work."
But why ANZAC Day? Why? You must have known this would cause outrage.
No,
obviously, a lot of people agree and a lot of people disagree,
Natalie,
but why ANZAC Day?
Natalie, you're absolutely right. It was totally wrong of me to do it on that day. If you just accept that I've been on Twitter seriously for 1 week, and I obviously underestimated it. I underestimated the vitriol. I mean, when I look at the vitriol, the obscene language of the comments on that Twitter, then I've got to say that I think that people are responding to the wrong part of society and allowing our media comment to be diverted off on a tangent which is representative of very minor views and by people who are manipulating the media through this Twitter. I mean, to see Stephanie Rice, as I said, reduced from national hero to a blubbering wreck within a few days for an inadvertent comment. These people are sitting on Twitter ready to pounce and destroy individuals.
And after
that's
seeing
what they've tried to do
Stephanie,
here. Now,
it may have been a warning sign to you.
Well, yes, absolutely. But I suppose with 1 week's Twitter experience, I wasn't up to it. But what I will say is that with my background and with my absolute respect of ANZAC Day and veterans, that I had no intention to politicise ANZAC Day, would never intentionally do that. And if the Twitter brigade hadn't got out there and done that, this wouldn't have happened. But nonetheless, it was wrong of me to even send it out on ANZAC Day, and I do apologise for that and have. But I stand by the fact that we do need to honour the Australia that these fellows fought for in its values. Its values doesn't mean that the world doesn't move forward, but in its values. And we have this year gay marriage, and we also have the recognised problem of the Islamic extremist views on societies in Europe to realise that we've got to contend with here as well.
Yeah, and we did honour them yesterday. Jim Wallace, thanks very much for your time for explaining it this morning.
Thank you very much, Natalie.
It's 7:15. Well,